I brought a movie.
I was 2 times. I was on the phone 2 times ago. I was.
Not that I really didn't enjoy watching that guy inside that fight.
Yeah.
I mean, I found that really.
I want to know how.
Not at all.
I want to know how come I attend one movie by phone the entire year and it lasts 2 hours and 15 minutes. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think he does. I think he just knows it.
By the way, I will not be here in December because I'm not dialing in from New Zealand. Nothing personal.
You don't pay your bill?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, let's get this thing started. Folks, I think we're going to get this started tonight. Thank you all for showing up. Before we actually get started, I want everyone to be aware that this meeting is being recorded and videotaped. So your behavior goes out tomorrow on the Spruce Creek POA website. Now's your time. I'll ask all of you to stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to call this meeting to order. We have everyone present and accounted for. Nice to have everyone back. Randy, you have the proof of meeting notice? Yes, sir. Very good, thank you. And approval of meeting minutes. Have all of you had a chance to look at the meeting minutes from last month? Anyone have any additions, corrections, exclusions?
Diane has a correction. Yes. Line 1 at the bottom. Underground drainage pipe. Well, unfinished cover. That should be 77,100.
Page 2 now?
Oh.
It's 777.
719 or 1?
77,100.
Good catch, Diane.
Spencer should know.
Yeah. Thank you, Diane. That being the case, I'll make a motion we accept the meeting minutes with the correction. Any discussion, anything else? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Open forum, is our sheet ready? Yep. Very good. Thank you, Bonnie. Eileen, you wanted to speak?
Yes.
Randy, is that mic on up there for? Eileen Gaines?
Yes.
3139 Waterway Place.
Waterway Place, thank you. First, I just want to say happy Thanksgiving to all my Canadian friends. And there's few of us on, not us. I was born in New York, raised in New York, so I'm not Canadian, but a couple of my neighbors are Canadian. So I just have 2 things tonight. One, I don't know if anyone was aware or if they have observed outside the south gate that seems every few days there's a big rig that is being handled. That was my question. It seems like it's every couple of days it's there. I didn't know if it was someone that lived in the fly-in. And just second, as an update to the discussion we had a couple of months ago on the sidewalk at South Creek and Waterway Place in that back area there, I just wanted to let you know that we had a petition, or we just started a petition just to get some interest, to see if there is interest in putting in a different type of walkway. I have a copy. I just wanted you to have a copy of what we're sending around. We have 14 signatures so far. It's just saying basically that we would like to share with you that there are people that are interested in maybe having either the POA or the country club or whoever actually wants to take responsibility for the property, that there are people that are interested in having a sidewalk or walkway back in place. So I just wanted to leave that with you so that you know, in case some neighbors start saying, what's this petition about? It has started. So, and that's it. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Eileen. Thank you. Drew Hurley? Yes, sir. Would you like to come up? Ah, there you are.
Hi, Drew Hurley, 3239 Valeview Drive. This is a issue about political signs. We're 29 days away from the election. If I recall correctly, the Bylaws Committee, in its survey of a number of months ago, addressed to people what they wanted to see changed in the bylaws. And one of the issues, if I recall the summary, was an issue about political signs. Right now, my understanding is that under the sign bylaw, only certain signs are permitted, those being real estate signs and I think contractor signs. Other than that, there's no exception for political signs. I would ask the board to consider, for the time being, and certainly in light of the pending election, to suspend any enforcement of the bylaw for political signs. It's my belief, or whatever value that has, that enforcement of the sign bylaw seeking to prevent the posting on reasonable posting of political signs would probably not be held enforceable. So I'd pass that along for whatever that's worth. But I would ask the board to consider the possibility of taking some action on this, considering how soon the election's coming up.
Drew, what is your interest here, aside from the obvious?
The obvious.
Okay, very good. Frank? Frank, would you state your last name again, please?
Quicchio.
Very good, thank you. Yeah.
I'm also here about the sidewalk. I just want to clarify something that was in the minutes when I spoke a couple months ago. I had suggested that to repair the 7 to 8 sections, slabs, to the best of my recollection, would have been a lot less expensive than removing it all and placing with sod. In the minutes, it's my understanding, I didn't read them, but I was told that it implied that I was suggesting it would have been less expensive to replace the entire 2 sections. That's not what I meant. I'm talking about just repairing the ones that needed to be done. Also, I'd like to add, as far as long as this continues, I understand that it was a tripping hazard, but I find a tripping hazard a lot better than now people walking their dogs in the street, that same area, especially in the times we now live with distracted drivers and people speeding down that road, even though there's a stop sign. Also, I'll bring up another topic that affected me directly this weekend. There's people coming in uninvited through the park area. There's a walkway. If you're looking at the park, you have it fenced in. To the left, back to where there's woods and back to where the apartments are. I've learned that people are now cutting through there, circumventing coming through security to come into our area uninvited. So I'm asking for at least to be addressed, for someone to walk back there, security walk back there and see how they are coming in without any authorization. That's it.
Thank you, Drew. This issue about folks coming in over the fence. I spoke to Eileen Gaines about that a couple of weeks ago as well, and I was surprised to learn that that was happening, but apparently it's my understanding that's just kids. Is that correct?
Well, in this particular case, no, it was not kids. And I don't know exactly how it's constructed behind the park. I don't know, but to the best of my knowledge, again, if you walk between that path between where the fence is and where the woods are, and again, if you're facing the park, there's a little pathway. At the end of that pathway, I don't know if the wall is there, and if it is there, then obviously they're also still climbing over it. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not sure. I mean, I could have walked back there myself, and I actually had planned to do so yesterday, but I forgot to see how they are coming in, if it's basically unobstructed, free, for them to come in through that area.
Got it. Randy, would you get with Greg on that, please? See what we can find with that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Drew. Michael Conway?
Michael Conway, 1971 South Creek. A couple things, actually, and is that Frank? Running stop signs is still such a problem, and particularly the stop sign by the kids' playground park. I don't know if we can explore possibilities of the speed strips or something to stop that. I mean, obviously, there's also the dog walking, the bags there, so it's intended for people to walk their dogs. It's where the playground is for children to play, and that stop sign is wholeheartedly ignored throughout most of the days. Seems to be even worse at night, because I think people take the assumption if they don't see headlights coming from the perpendicular road, then it's free to just cruise on through full speed. So that's one issue. The other issue, part of trying to improve my health, I get out and walk every morning. I've noticed between the hours of 6 to 8 a.m., there's people that habitually use the playground as a dog run, despite all the posted signs. So I don't know if we can get security to kind of go by there during that time of day and dissuade that activity. Particularly, there's a dark gray-green pickup truck that I've noted multiple times there.
Is this inside the fenced area?
Inside the fenced area.
Oh, okay.
Dogs off the leash. They use the playground as their personal dog run. And then the other topic, I don't know if now is the time to speak to that or not. I see the supplemental agenda items regarding the Flying Club. Would now be appropriate to share some comments on that, or should that wait?
You're welcome to make those comments. I think Jack has in his report to the board, I think he's going to address that.
I just learned about it the other day, so I did some, and I'll make it really quick. I just looked at our bylaws, covenants and restrictions, other information on the site. We'll note that the Article 2 states that the airport is for the primary use of members and tenants and their invited guests. So I see there's some discussion about whether the proposed club would be a tenant, required to have on-premise, be a tenant and pay lease, et cetera. I'll also note that right on the airport website itself, for non-residents, it specifically precludes touch-and-go training for non-residents. So these are all things that the attorney, I think, is going to investigate. For current list of permitted uses, Flying Club is not on the list of commercial uses for the commercial space. I have references to all that. You can, I'll share that with the group if they want. But general offices, aircraft storage, sales, service, fixed-based operations, convenience store, post office, retail, and restaurant are the permitted uses, not Flying Club. And then the only thing I would suggest the attorney look at is in the bylaws and restrictions I noted, anything that would constitute a reduction of the use and enjoyment of the airport would require a 90% vote of all members of the community, and I would contend that bringing in a Flying Club that would consume a certain amount of capacity of the airport, therefore restricts the use of the airport by the residents. So just things for the attorney to consider.
Very good, thank you. Just as an aside, I will remind the board that when issues come up regarding matters such as this, generally speaking, it's dealt with at the at a lower level. In this particular case, the airport authority would be the venue for discussing the options we have to renting out to the Eagle Sport Aviation Club, or not renting out to the Eagle Sport Aviation Club, or inserting ourselves in that rental agreement in some form or fashion. The discussions and the consensus arrived at the AAC level would then work its way up to the board through a recommendation. In years past, the POA has done I think in some ways, a disservice to this association by taking on matters such as this at the board level for discussion, for argument, for without any other interpretation or any other participation other than what comes to these board meetings. That's not what this board is for. This board is to take recommendations that come from a committee that is established to hear these arguments and to hear these concerns from residents, just like Michael. Those discussions at that level are entirely more appropriate, in my view, than is a discussion at the board level. In this particular case, the concern had come out a little bit, I think, through the AAC and then got dropped. Recently, it has resurfaced again through Jack's request that we get legal counsel on this. I think Randy has an appointment for he and I to go to our HOA attorney tomorrow morning at 10. And we will be addressing all of Jack's items at that meeting in an effort to solicit an opinion from Jack, who is well vetted with our declarations. So all of that being said, good points all. If there are ways for us to be able to control the kinds of activities that our tenants of residents have here in Spruce Creek, I'm all for it. I think we should, as an association, we should, as a POA board, be able to restrict to some degree some of the behaviors and the activities of those who aren't as vested as the rest of us are in this neighborhood. Mark Sherman.
Good evening, Mark Sherman, 2680 Slow Flight. I'm going to withdraw my remarks I was going to make about the flying club, because I think my remarks are not ripe since you guys are not done yet. The other day, I had the opportunity to fly with Randy Mahoney in his Bell 47 helicopter, which gives you an awesome view of the ground, unlike what I can see out of my Bonanza. And we flew over Eagle Lake. That's the lake on the... And as horrid as it looks from the ground, as you drive down Spruce Creek Boulevard, it looks way worse from the air. And I was struck by it because we flew around the general area as far down as Edgewater and around here. And I'm sure there are some lakes that are as bad, but this one is, to my mind, the worst. And I'm just wondering what, if anything, is being done.
Diane, you want to speak to that?
On October the 15th, next week, we have a new company coming in, vendor, to take over treating our 40 lakes.
I'm done. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mark.
On October the 15th, next Monday, we have a new vendor coming in to start taking care of our lakes. And they have guaranteed me they're going to get rid of the hydrilla that's in Eagle Lake and the algae on our other lakes and some of the grasses that are growing around the lakes that keep getting wider and wider away from the bank. So I will be on Joe Harm's list. He'll be on my list that he lives up to his word.
You want to mention that we had 30 days together.
Right. At the last meeting, we voted to get the new vendor, but we had to give the vendor we have right now a 30-day notice to cancel our contract. And he's upset that we canceled it in the middle of a month, but that was 30 days. So Randy sent the letter, return receipt requested, to know that they did get their letter. And I'm amazed they have been coming in and doing a few things since they got that letter.
Very good. Thank you, Diane. Okay, reports. I have a brief report to make. This has to do with the fact that we are a volunteer force. We have, this board would not be able to even begin to accomplish what we have accomplished without the help of the up to almost 100 volunteers that we have with various groups in Spruce Creek. Randy's comment to me months ago was that he has never, ever seen an HOA or a condo association this active and this engaged. It's a credit to all of you. It speaks to how well you love Spruce Creek, and we just could not do it without you. Towards that end, most years we have a Volunteer of the Year award. And I struggled with this because we have so many great people that it dawned on me that we just can't limit this to one. So with that being said, I'd like to ask Joe to come up here, Fred Kerlinger to come up, and Diane, I'll ask you to stand. Is this Joe? Yes, sir.
The only two. You don't have to go. Come on. One's enough.
Thank you.
I want you guys to, let me grab these other here. Hang on.
Bring it for something.
And they spell my name.
And
You know, let me get a
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Where are you going?
Oh, you didn't get an award. You got
I want to thank all of you who participate with us, but these three individuals have done an absolutely remarkable job for us. There is something else a little more unique about this, and these plaques were made by Mr. John Wilson. And so this is one of the last efforts he made before his accident, and so I was absolutely thrilled with that. Okay, Mike?
nothing.
You don't have a report? Dennis?
No report.
Very good. Jack?
Well, good evening, everybody. After our last board meeting, I got a volume of emails about the issue of the, we'll call it a sport flying club. It had been discussed in a collateral way at our meeting, as you may remember, because of the issue they wanted to advertise through a promotional show of some sort, barbecue, and solicit people to come and get free rides and know what the school was all about, or the club was all about. And following the board's vote against such a event, I started to get emails, and as a result of emails, and then last week I got calls, I really thought that this issue should be brought before the board. I respectfully disagree with our president about this issue should be a committee issue. This is the worst thing that could happen to this issue. This is an issue of magnitude for the community. It's an issue involving legal interpretation of our documents. It's an issue that requires someone to give us advice on what we can do and what we may not be able to do. It's an issue that involves some thinking at the board level, and perhaps the board should create, as I suggest, a committee of skilled people to discuss these issues. We are a private airport. We accept no federal funding, no state or local funding. We own our own airport property. We are entitled by law and our own documents to regulate the operations of our airport any way we wish. We have documents that we must comply with, but those documents have gray areas that need to be interpreted. It is not for one person, any one person or any officer, to tell the community, I have interpreted these documents and this is the way we should go. That's not how this community operates. We operate at a board level. We operate with a board meeting not once a year, as some corporations do, not quarterly, but monthly. Why do we do that? Why am I here traveling from New Jersey? I'm not here to vote on plantings and paintings and things of that nature. We're here for critical issues. This is a magnitude issue, in my opinion, one of the most critical issues that have come before the board, or should be before the board. Now, that doesn't mean I don't have the utmost respect for the airport community, the finance community. They do amazing work. This issue is above their capability. They could give us input into what the folks might wish for. They don't have the capability to interpret our documents. And we need to start asking some hard questions. Why does this flying club choose Spruce Creek? Who's flying these airplanes? Why do we have a tenant who's a non-resident who's taken us basically captured? They have, I am told, 60 students, but no restriction. They could have 1,000 students. They have 6 airplanes. They could have 100 airplanes. And we've done nothing. The suggestion that we're going to go and discuss this with our attorney without an agenda, without a board-decided mechanism for what are we going to do about it, or what would we like to do about it. So last Friday, I submitted a proposed resolution to all my board members and asked that it be on tonight's agenda. I was told that it's not going to be on the agenda, that it's going to be handled outside the board. I don't know what's going to be handled at any meeting where the board is not present. I don't know what's going to be discussed about a club, or who knows who's in the club, or who's friends with who in the club, or how the club got here in the first place. I'm interested to know, does this club have insurance that names the POA as a lost payee in the case of an accident? I'm interested to know in how many members intend to or could be in the club. How many airplanes can the club bring here? What kind of operations are they going to be allowed to do? Can they do unlimited touch and goes here? Can they train here? Can they have night ops here? So my feeling is that I was elected to protect the interests of the club as best as we as a board can determine, with the assistance of one another, with the assistance of a group. The airport manager should be part of a special committee, perhaps. We have people like Shane McLaughlin, who are one of the foremost aviation lawyers, who happens to be a resident here. He's extremely influential in New Hampshire in drafting aviation legislation and handling aviation issues. Used to be on the bylaw committee. He resigned from that committee about a month ago. So I really am disappointed, is putting it mildly, that we're not discussing this issue tonight. I'm disappointed that we're now going to have to wait another month with operations going on here that we have no voice in. I'm disappointed that we don't today or tomorrow have someone go over there and say to them, show me your insurance documents, and you tell your insurance carrier that the POA better be on here in case something happens. And so I'm concerned that the door is open. The flying school club, and I understand that there's been flying clubs of a small magnitude here operated by residents. I think that's a distinction. I think we need to take a look at, where do we go from here? What are we going to allow here? If this club is here, maybe 10 more will be here. And if you think the frequency is busy now, Joe, and we need another frequency, just wait till we have 100 club members or 500 flying around here at all hours. So I think it's an issue of magnitude. I think it's an issue that should be discussed by the board. The board should develop a policy of what we feel is appropriate and safe for the residents, understanding our covenants, restrictions, bylaws, and other documents. I feel that the appropriate way would be to have an attorney give us an opinion on what restrictions are clear, what are not clear, and when they're not gray, my feeling is you regulate. You regulate to protect our residents, our landowners, protect our values of our homes, keep our insurance policies down. Has anybody thought about the effect that our general insurance policies might have if we have these flight students and flight schools here? Has there really been a thought process going on about this and 100 other issues we could all think of together? So I express my opinion as a resident, as I think you would want to know, what are we doing about this? I think we should do a lot about it, and I think we should do it quickly. Holidays are coming up. This issue gets postponed. Nothing will happen until next year, I guarantee you. So I had wanted it on the agenda. I was denied that request. That's an issue for another day. So I have distributed to you what I hope will be on our next board meeting's agenda. And I'm sure that you folks could think of other issues in addition to the issues that I raised. And perhaps my fellow board members have other issues that they wish to have heard on, collateral issues associated with these operations. But I feel strongly about it, that it's a serious issue. It should be discussed at the board level, not at private meetings with the manager and the president. The board should make the policy, and they should carry out that policy. They should carry out the policy of what the board deems appropriate that we should be reviewing. I don't know what's going to be reviewed. I'm not going to be here. None of my fellow board members are going to be at these meetings. So the attorney's going to come back and say, well, this and that, and then the board's going to get involved then. I think we should set the policy. They should follow the policy. The policy should be geared towards what's best for you, our citizens here at Spruce Creek. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. While Jack and I don't necessarily agree on the timing of these, I can't argue with his points. The timing issue, I think, is important. Having a dialogue about this topic is what will end up happening at this board level eventually. And but without a little guidance up front, we could be spending an awful lot of time working back and forth on what sounds good, what we might want to see happen, to no avail. We have the issue about the Eagle Sport Aviation Club as it is defined by Jack, but we also have the issue of how does that work with others who rent to tenants? And those tenants, what applies to the Eagle Sport Aviation Club in the way of policy and legality needs to apply to all. No, we are not. I just am making a comment. Thank you. Jeff Edwards, or I'm sorry, Diane Moore.
I can throw darts.